Well, good morning and welcome to the first of the Matchbook Betting Exchange English Greyhound Derby podcasts. Of course, I'm joined as always by Paul Lawrence, PL. Hard to believe we're back here again, English Derby. These years seem to be rolling along a lot quicker than they used to. I can tell you that. And we have a full book at one point. A lot of non-runners in the opening round, but in and around the sort of 180 mark for the opening round of the Star Sports TRC English Greyhound Derby at Toaster. And lots to look forward to. We've got a traditional Irish-English battle at the head of the market, and I think that will be the general sort of trend going forward for these 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think you mentioned as well, Ian, that going into maybe a couple of months ago, we didn't really know how many Irish challenges there would be, but it's still a pretty strong team. And the fact that Swords Rex has thrown his hat well and truly into the ring with the track record performance just goes to show you that it's not just all about from post to pillar. From the English challenge, and there is that strong Irish challenge as well. And of course, Liam's fetched over a strong team as well. So yeah, all in all, it looks pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not as big as it would be in previous years. Like we're talking in around, I think it's 27 at the moment. And that is far shorter of the sort of 40 we've had the last couple of years, but it's still a very strong challenge. And as I said, as you said, Swords Rex is way up there at the head of the market. But just behind him, we have 2 or 3 dogs, the likes of Clona Duke and Ballymacfin. You see the ticker at the bottom of the screen there. Romeo Command is obviously representing the UK, but he spent considerable time in Ireland. Ballymac Marina was our juvenile classic winner. Romeo Magico, of course, the reigning champion. Mary Champion, a lightly raced performer for Seamus Cahill, looks very fast indeed. Brady's Bullet, certainly no shortage of speed there, and Hurry Up Jordan. But then you have a whole host of really talented greyhounds in between sort of the 40 to 66 to 1 mark, and I'm sure we'll get to them a little bit later on. Let's talk about some of those dogs. From post to pillar, Paul, I was at the sponsors preview night last night in Mayfair. Hence, I'm recording this from a hotel room. You're obviously in the depths of Lifford Greyhound Track as we speak. It was sort of written. It's been written by Jim that we are all sort of against from post to pillar. I think that's the wrong way of terming it. I just think that Swords Rex should be favoured, but from post to pillar, like I could easily see him trading at 2 to 1 at some point during this derby, just given the nature of his running style and the fact that in 1 or 2 of the early rounds, if he got an easy heat, you could see him doing a blistering run, and certainly he's very capable of doing a track record breaking run.
Yeah, and he's shown that in the trials that he's been given. To be fair, he's 2860 odd, and it's not officially a track record, but he's just done it 3 times now. And all right, he went back probably a length or so the other day, but it just goes to show you that Ian, that he's got that big engine. It's funny because when we were over for the English Derby last year, we stayed with Pat Buckley, and I know Pat was interested in buying the dog then, and I think there was a bit of a bidding war for him, and it's one of those dogs where he's just got that massive engine because he can do a decent clock on his own. My issue is, it's funny you've mentioned those 2 dogs, Swords Rex. Swords Rex would be a PL sort of dog in that he's got the early pace, but from post to pillar, he's more the competition dog in that he's got that ability that he's not a one-trick pony. He can come from off the speed. Your danger is that will he encounter trouble? But I think he's got so much class. You wouldn't say he's completely devoid of early, and he has got a decent break in him, but he has got that Achilles heel of missing it and then being on the back foot somewhat. But I think as he's getting older and Rab and Liz are learning how to train the dog, I think that he's getting himself out of those kind of situations. And when he went to Central Park, I thought he rode a bit of luck. But I think sometimes, and you'll agree with me, that when you're in a derby, you need an element of luck as well. And sometimes dogs make their own luck.
Would you see them as wide seed? Oh, sorry. PL's coming back to us there. Go ahead, PL.
Yeah, no, I'd see them as middle. I'd see them middle because I think that there'll be a lack of middles anyway. So I'll end up, if he was me, I'd want him on the inside of the wides, Ian. So I just think that he'd be housed in probably 4 or 5, and I think that'll suit him. Yeah. I know. I saw his last trial, and he definitely moved middle straight away. Now I know he's got dogs in his inside, and he might be intelligent enough whether there is a dog on his inside just to mind himself on the outer. And you saw at Central Park when he swept around the outside, that kind of sticks in my mind. So yeah, I can see why Rab seeded him wide, but by the same token, I think ultimately, and me being me with being mad on lanes, I think I'd want him middle, yeah. But we'll see.
Let's move on. He's obviously a very fast greyhound. As I said, it wouldn't be any surprise to me if he traded much shorter in sort of the competition at some point. 9-1 is plenty short enough as far as I'm concerned, but or 8-1 should I say? But as I there could well be a case of trading it 5-2, 2-1 at some point during the stake if he took off in the early couple of rounds. Like it's only last year we saw Balnabola Ed trading at 7-4 before the quarterfinals for outright glory, and well, we know how that went. Let's move on to Swords Rex. Obviously, the hope of Ireland, the hope of Graham Holland, who's bidding to win this for the second year running, having won it last year with Romeo Magico, who is of course back for a defence of his title. He's a year older. He's still as fast as he ever was, but probably not has the early or doesn't have the early speed that he once did. But I think Swords Rex, it's clear to all that he's the captain of Graham Holland's team himself, and maybe vice captain Clona Duke, two very talented greyhounds. They're second and third in the betting, and I think they deserve to be in that sort of lofty position.
Yeah, really, Swords Rex, as I mentioned earlier on, he's my sort of dog. When he won the Kirby, I thought it was an outstanding Kirby that year. Obviously, Balnabola Ed was in the final as well, but he was always a dog that caught my eye, and I'll be pretty convinced that he went a little bit wrong after that, and he just didn't look the same dog. But of course, Graham Holland and Nicky and Rachel and Timmy know what to do with the dog, and they've got him back to his best, and that was obviously showed earlier this year, and obviously doing the track record time as well. So from my point of view, he should be where he is, and I'm actually cursing a little bit in that I haven't got him in my list of bets so far. I have backed from Poster Pillar at 16-1, so I was a little bit when Swords Rex went bang and did the time. You always knew he could go that quick, but I didn't really want him to do it when he did. If you know what I mean. So I kind of missed the boat with him, but I could understand, and I think he is definitely a dog that can win a derby.
Yeah, no question about it. He's like you say, he's all about early speed and whatnot, but he's proven competition greyhound. Like this will be his, probably fifth classic challenge. He's won a Kirby Memorial. He's won an Easter Cup. He was, desperately lucky in the Laurels, or in the Produce Stakes, should I say. He was very close to winning the Laurels in company where, you think with him sort of packed around with real early speedsters around him, around Cork, a real speed test, and he held his own. He's narrowly beaten into third. I think he's a proven competition greyhound. Yes, it didn't happen from the Irish Derby last year, but I think that was due to the fact that I think he was under a cloud at the time. He's certainly not under that at the moment as you speak. The track record breaking run is there for all to see. I think he's a greyhound with unlimited ability. Like he did 27.79 around Shelburne Park last year for the 525-yard trip. What, 2, maybe 3 dogs have ever gone faster? It was a sensational display, and I think all signs would point to the fact that he's sort of at the peak of his powers at present. His last run was a track record breaking run, and that bodes well going into a Derby challenge. Moving on to Clona Duke. A very progressive young greyhound, or younger greyhound, should I say. He won last year's Juvenile Derby at Shelburne Park, of course. He won select stakes this year, beating a truly select field, and seems to be going the right way, PL. Any interest in him?
I haven't. No, he's one of those dogs. I think, as you say, he's probably quite inexperienced to a certain extent, but he was certainly impressive in the Juvenile Derby, and it wasn't a surprise, obviously, because you quite fancied him on that occasion. But again, I just felt that maybe he was better from that sort of middly box, and again, it's dangerous to see the dog's middle because he probably doesn't really want to be stuck out in 5. And so I can understand why Graham's got a rouse on him. I don't. He's in the first heat on Friday night, and I felt that with his draw, he'll be all right from red. So he'll be all right. And the fact that he's a strong sort of running dog as well. He's not devoid of early, and he can get it right at the side. It's just one of those. He's a bit almost like a from post to pillar in that sometimes I think when he gets deeper into the competition, he will rely on a break, Ian, rather than sort of missing it and rushing up like a Swords Rex can do. But yeah, the fact that he did the 28.97 and was impressive when he did that shows you that again there's a big engine there. And we witnessed that on the Friday night at Shelburne when he won the Juvenile Derby.
Yeah, he's a very fast greyhound. Obviously you were there to see him that first night. That was the night I sort of really sort of fell in love with him. The first round of the Juvenile Derby. I'm not even sure he won that night, to be honest. I was sitting in the restaurant rather than the commentary box that night. Really caught my eye. Backed him at 50-1 for the competition, and yeah. It looks shrewd now, but he was 20-1 for the final, so probably wasn't all that great a bet. And while it happened for him in the Juvenile Derby, I think we all sort of agreed that better was to come from him. And all signs this year would suggest he is a better greyhound. Obviously, that select stakes success, but he also starred in the early rounds of the Kirby Memorial. He equaled the track record in the second round, went out in the third round, but it was one of those situations where he probably left his Kirby chances on the track that night, the night he broke the track record. I think the few races since then have obviously highlighted the fact that he's coming forward and that he's probably learning how to handle himself more and just getting used to sort of more racing. Outside of those, we have Ballymacfin, of course. It's the Derby runner-up, Irish Derby runner-up, a dog with classic form in the book.
Yeah, and he's a dog that I've actually backed as well. I was really impressed with him throughout the Irish Derby last year, and he ran a mighty race when runner-up in the Derby final. And the thing is with Liam, he always seems to bring a strong challenge for the English Derby. He seems to highlight those dogs, and I think with Ballymacfin, he's got quality, and I think sometimes it's a bit like Romeo Magico last year. He was performing at top level, fetched that to the English Derby, and you need that sort of good all round pace dog, and I think Ballymacfin is a dog that I certainly I want to be with this year.
Yeah, he's a fast greyhound. We haven't seen an awful lot of him this year, but the fact that Liam is bringing him over in a couple of absolutely unbelievable trials in Ireland, while he didn't trial sensationally well at Toaster, that's okay. First look at the place, and it is a quirky track. It takes a little bit of getting used to. And he's been handed a relatively straightforward opening round task, and that will stand to him, you would imagine. Yeah, very fast greyhound. I tend to agree with you. I didn't get the big prices. I didn't know if Liam was going to come or not, and by the time he decided he was coming, the few nibbles had been there. The dogs were sort of shorter prices than I would like to have backed them at. Looking then through the rest of them, let's skip through the last few in the top 10 in the market there. Romeo Command, a dog who was one win from 11 in Ireland and then came to the UK, had 10 wins in a row. He's been sort of quiet of late, and as a result is nearly forgotten dog, but this is a very, very fast greyhound.
Yeah, he's one of those dogs that he seemed a little. What I've seen of him, obviously maybe not, he just seemed a little bit vulnerable in against the top class dogs, and that was my little bit of a worry about him. He's not a dog that has really sort of caught my eye, and I know a lot of people have talked about him, and obviously, given on his night, he can record a quick time. I just didn't know whether he could do it on a consistent enough basis. That was my little sort of worry about him, I suppose.
Yeah, no question, a fast greyhound, as you say. Just when in a really top company, you worry about maybe his starting to a point, and he's looked relatively consistent at the starting department. But I'm biased in the sense where I saw him in Ireland, and his starting was the problem, and he was finding himself getting trouble and whatnot. But yeah, no question, there's an engine there, but just would need to produce real consistency over the next few weeks if he's going to land spoils. Ballymacmarino is next, obviously, for Liam Dowling. He's his juvenile classic champion. This is the dog that was backed of all the Liam Dowling kennels. This was the one that was backed. This was the reason I sort of got onto Liam and asked if he was actually coming, because it was reported though there was a couple of chunky bets on Ballymacmarino, and that probably comes back to the fact that he's owned by a syndicate, and a big-ish syndicate that aren't afraid to have a few quid in their own dog. So yeah, he's clearly going over. Liam thinks an awful lot of this dog. He was well beaten in his last start at Shelburne Park, and yeah, I sort of asked Liam about it, and he said that's probably the best thing ever happened to him. This was a dog that had everything his own way in the Juvenile Classic. Every night, led early, just dominated, and ran well then in Shelburne Park in his first start in Dublin. But in his last start, as I said, got a bit swamped and sort of found dogs around him. But Liam said, listen, they have to get beaten sometime. Is in well get beaten now in a race that didn't mean anything, and he'll learn more from that than he would from 5 or 6 wins from the front. And I tend to agree with him. A dog with a huge engine, PL, whether he's too young, too inexperienced, well, we'll soon find out.
Yeah, I suppose the other on the flip side, Ian, you could turn around and say he's open to plenty of improvement, and I think that's the thing with Liam. He can identify greyhounds that he believes are good enough to go through that competition. And it is a grueling competition. As you say, he's young, he's probably fairly inexperienced, but I think he's another dog. When he gets it right on the night, he's a very, very fast animal. When he's on the front, you need a stick of dynamite to get him off again. So I actually think he's a good competition dog, and I was almost tempted to have a little nibble on him. I haven't as yet, but I did note that he trialled all right. So, and I think he's got a real big chance in his heat as well. So I think he'll safety qualify. And I think you're right in that Liam's probably come over at a fairly late stage. They're travelling with a young dog. It might upset him a little bit, and I think he'll just get used to Pete's kennels and the way they'll go, and they'll start to improve throughout the competition. I think that's something that when we're looking for the dogs to bet throughout, and I think that's something to always bear in mind. In that the Irish dogs, some of them go backwards and forwards, but these days they tend to come over. They tend to get settled into a routine once they're here, and of course then they can start to improve once they learn the routine and settle better.
Yeah, no question about that. I suppose from an Irish point of view, Ballymacmarino would have to be one of our leading fancies, given the fact that he's still open to improvement. He has shown that he is a massive engine. He's pretty professional. Just interesting to see how he does run the place in racing itself. Romeo Magicos next. He's the defending champion. For me, probably he had his day. I don't think he still has this same early that he once had. I think the pace is still there down the back straight. In particular, he's absolutely flying. But we haven't seen an awful lot of him this year. But from what I have seen of him, he doesn't go to the corner like he used to.
No, and maybe like as you say, really, Graham knows that he's had that the Derby competitions, and it probably takes a fair bit out of them. So he's probably just minded him somewhat. That's maybe why we haven't seen him so much. To go, well, he's already won an English Derby. We know he's suited to Toaster, so therefore we'll just prepare him this year for that campaign. The fact that he likes Toaster, the fact that he's won a Derby, the fact that he's got that decent engine and that undoubted back straight pace, it's going to see him in good stead to keep qualifying. So, we've seen it on a number of occasions with Westmead Hawk, Rapid Ranger, these dual Derby champions. It's not impossible for Romeo Magico to go deep again.
And certainly the fact that he handles Toaster is a big plus, because an awful lot of dogs don't handle the places as well as others. So, yeah, I suppose it'd be brash of me to completely dismiss his chances. I just feel that he doesn't even have the best chance in his kennel, never mind in the Derby. That's my sort of take on it. Pia, we'll leave the last three on the ticker to you. Married Champion. After disappearing on me now. Married Champion. Their Hurry Up dog, and what was the other one there? We'll wait for him for a minute. Talk me through Married Champion. He's very lightly raced. He's pacey. It's just a case of whether does he have enough early.
Yeah, no, he was quite impressive, and he's one of those dogs again. And I think when he breaks, he shows enough early to go, wow. Brady's Bullet was the other dog there that was going across the bottom, and he's another dog. I think that again, sort of a hove trained dog that. From his point of view, Brady's Bullet, his Achilles heel has always been his starting, but I thought Murray Champion was quite impressive. Again, I suppose you're intimating that can Seamus get him to do that on a consistent basis throughout the Derby? But certainly, again, a pacey enough dog. Brady's Bullet was always a dog that I liked. You could tell that he wasn't really a Monmore dog when he was at Monmore, but he still performed well, and that's the measure of probably Belinda still getting to know the dog because he's fairly inexperienced. But again, as we mentioned with Marino, sometimes that's an advantage that you can progress these dogs. You don't win a Derby in the first round. Do you know what I mean? So as much as we're looking at Swords Rex doing 28.70s pre-comp, we're looking at from Post to Pillar doing 28.60s. Can they keep that up right the way through the Derby? Whereas those sort of dogs that are just coming to the ball now, starting to air their wares, you'd imagine Seamus has got a great record to get. He won with a Shoot Missile, so he knows what to do to win a Derby. Belinda Green less so, but again, a young trainer that's going forward. So those sort of dogs are definitely going to go deep in the Derby, and they're sort of trading around those 26 mark at the moment, and certainly I wouldn't put anyone off getting involved with the pair of them.
Hurry Up Jordan. Well, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, don't know a lot about him actually. Orla McGee actually spoke to me about it after racing. After racing here at Lifford on Sunday night, and said that she had an interest in the dog, and I think his Achilles heel might be starting, but I don't know too much about the dog in truth. But obviously, he's been well back because of his price. So
yeah, we're 21 minutes in, and we are going to. There's no point in even contemplating sort of looking at the 32 heats as we look ahead Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but there are one or two that stand out. We're going to get your best bets at the end, PL. So we're down to the last few moments. Talk to me about Thursday night. Is there anything that stands out in the card? There will be quite a few sort of, how would you say it, less than full races. Like we have a lot of 5-dog heats to start the action, and with a few non-runners, I believe there may even be one 3-dog heat. There'll be a couple of 4-dog heats, you'd imagine, through the night. Boyle Sports Vic has been withdrawn from Heat 4 as of last night. He's hurt. So we have a 3-dog heat, Married Champion, Deanridge Anton and Distant Podge. Distant Podge is a dog we haven't spoken of. He's a very nice dog. He's an October 20. Like, he has a little bit of age on his side, but he's not all that, heavily raced. He's really taken to Toaster, and one of those dogs that's sort of coming in, and you don't have to worry about him handling the place. He loves it.
Yeah, it's as you say, they've fallen by the wayside in that heat, but it's a pretty tasty heat, isn't it? Some quick dogs in that still. So I kind of just favoured Marie Champion, but I could understand if Distant Podge went wallop, then he could maybe clear him into the bend. But all in all, it was a tough enough race. There's a couple of bets that stood out for me. I thought CryptoPunk was really impressive. Like, he was desperately unlucky last time. We know that when he gets room to operate, he's a very quick dog. It's just maybe his starting lets him down a bit. But I thought out of 3, any kind of start there, and I think around about the even money chance, he was a bet in the 7th race on the card there. Heat 5, yeah. And the other,
anything
the other
else
dog
that catches your eye on the Thursday night?
Yeah, Rioja Joey, he'd be my best bet in Heat 7. So I really liked him. Again, he's short enough, but I think that when you see these dogs and you know that they're going to get a clear run to the bend, and you know they've got a big engine, I think that's what you're looking for. You're just looking for that clear run. Funny enough, a fella pulled me at Derry on Monday. We went to Derry on Monday night. And the fella pulled me. He said, "I heard you one year, and it must have been when we were talking." And he said, "I heard you say," he said, "quick dogs don't win races," he said, "but draws do." And I think it's true. And when you get a good draw, you need to get a clear run. It doesn't matter. What we were talking off air about Hope's Rhino. He's in Heat 3. And I think he's got a nightmare draw with Signy Otis moving off. So he'd be one I'd look to take on. And I think you always get those, Ian, when in the first round, like when we mentioned about dogs settling in, especially coming from Ireland, and they're quick dogs, and they've got engines. That's maybe, but if you don't get the clear run, you can't do your fastest time. So I think that, and again, dogs are seeded. You get that opportunity through the Derby to reseed and stuff like that. So I always think that I mentioned to you about Clona Duke. I don't really think he wants track one necessarily, and we're still assessing how dogs run different lines at different tracks as well. So you have to learn and adapt all the way through a derby, and that's the beauty of, like, we chat through these and have these different opinions. But yeah, I thought they were the two standout bets, and I know they're short, but as I say, from favourites on that card, they would be two strong favourites for me: CryptoPunk and Ryoka Joey.
Yeah, no, I think there will be a few short price ones. I do like the chances of both those greyhounds. We'll get back to one of them in a few moments when we're talking about best bets. But yeah, listen, it's also going to be an informative night because we have the likes of Swords Rex, Ballymac Finn, Romeo Magico, dogs like that will be short in their respective heats. You'd expect them to win, but they're not gimmies. One heat in particular, Heat 9, is very hot. The likes of Brady's Boss has taken on Havana Bailout, and then you throw in the two Irish runners, Mustang Jet on the outside, who will certainly step up on what we saw last time out. And he'll certainly need to, no question about it. But this Sarah Ledger runner-up, this is a dog that won at the Winter Racing Festival, and Dolores Ruth, well, she certainly knows the time of day. She's bringing him over for one reason and one reason only, and that's to win an English Greyhound Derby. And I thought maybe that he was a very big price in the anti-post market, just while we're getting off topic there, at 66 to 1. McNeil is a big, powerful greyhound. He's trap one in that hot contest, and I think he'll be hard enough to keep out of the frame. I think it's a very, very interesting heat. Yeah, but all in all, a cracking sort of opening night to look forward to, and it'll all be hopefully topped off in the last heat by Swords Rex, who will be a very short price to follow up. But Ballymac Walt is an Irish dog with a bit of ability now. So I wouldn't go completely dismissing him against Swords Rex. But yeah, all in all, the Swords Rex looks the likely winner. On to Friday night, the opening heat is could be the chance for one of the ladies to lay down a marker. Fabulous Azura for Patrick Janssens, very, very talented, Paul. And I just wouldn't be surprised this year's Derby if one of the girls sort of took off, found a bit of form, the likes of her or Slick Sakina, you never know, and could run well through the competition.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick does really well. I mean, it was a cracking effort to get both bitches through to the Oaks final in Perry Bar last year, and I was with them both actually. So yeah, Slick Sakina is a bitch I do like, but Fabulous Azura is another one that she's just been campaigned for this year's Derby. I was really impressed actually with Fay Point Susie for John Mullins, and John always seems to do well, especially in early rounds of the Derby. So John used to rear a lot of my pups, and he said he keeps going because he always got that Derby dream. Obviously, his father won with Lacquer Champion. But I love John to bits, and again, he did really well with Sign It Goofy last year, and I think Fay Point and Susie might just give Fabulous Azura something to think about in that opening heat on Friday evening, I should say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lots to look forward to again on Friday night. Anything stand out for you? Obviously, we're going to see the likes of Clona Duke in action. It'll be interesting to see how he runs from trap one. But all in all, it's a heat where there's not a massive amount of early speed, so you'd imagine he'd be pretty okay from that inside draw. I like you would sooner see him in 3 or 4 every night of the week. A couple of powerhouses in Heat 19 representing Ireland, Jack Tavern Bella and Barefoot Supremo. Jack Tavern Bella has been in unbelievable form around Tulsa. She's after winning 2 in the spin over 500 metres. Like, this is a bitch that runs 6 bends in Ireland, but she's really taken to the place. And I suppose she's, what you're sort of looking for. You're looking for one in form, but I just wouldn't be surprised if Barefoot Supremo ran a big race there. He's trialled well in his last 2 weeks. He ran well at Toaster last year. It was actually in the opening round that he came from about 7 or 8 behind to pick up the bubbly, was it a bubbly Apache? I was at a stag in Kilkenny watching it on my phone, and needless to say, everyone in the surrounding area knew that I was on, and I'll be keeping an eye on Barefoot Supremo. I just had a little nibble each way because I hadn't backed for Win Fortunes last year, and you know yourself, you come back and won the following year, and you weren't on, you'd kill yourself. So no, Barefoot Supremo is one that I'm sort of interested to see how he goes. Ballymacmarino and Ballymac John Joe running in Heat 22 Irish runners, and then final heat of the round. There's no real big names, but actually 3 Irish taking each other on in the final heat on Friday. Anything catch your eye there, PL?
It's funny enough you mentioned about that Jack Bella and Barefoot Supremo race. You've obviously declared that you fancied Barefoot Supremo. I just wanted to ask you actually about Brinkley's Magic. I thought that Brinkley's Magic might have enough early to lead that race, and he seemed to ease a little bit going into the turn with a dog inside him last time. I just felt if you broke in that Heat 19, he might be able to lead those sort of two staying type of dogs, and he might then go flying down there because he's definitely got good middle gears as well as his bit of early. So I didn't know whether you thought he might be able to hang on in the closing stage, or if you even thought that he could actually lead that race.
Yeah, no, and that's the angle you should be looking for. That's what we're looking for throughout the Derby. It's just the chance for these dogs that don't always get to the front, and you never know in the company that they're in. If they do get to the front, they're very much a different proposition. On to the third of the nights. By this stage, it'll be an absolute marathon. So some talented greyhounds obviously in action, but all eyes will be on Heat 23, where From Post to Pillar makes his toaster sort of return. He's only raced there once. He's had a number of trials in recent times. Obviously, he's flown in trials, but I never forget Skippy Gilbert, the trainer in Ireland, always used to say to me, "You win nothing in trials." And it'll be interesting to see how From Post to Pillar runs from the outside. It's not a gimme by any stretch of imagination. There's some talented types there against him, but at the same time, if he gets a clear passage, you'd expect him to come through with flying colours.
It's right, because I keep looking at it and you think you're always looking for a dog that's probably going to do a low 29, and then think, well, he might progress and end up doing a 28.80, and that could be good enough. But this dog keeps doing 28.60s and 70s on a regular basis, and it's probably a little bit intimidating for the rivals, thinking, geez, we're up against this fast fella. But Beeper's Lariat was a dog that really caught my eye. I think he was running from track one when he won last time out. He sort of missed it completely and rushed up. And again, we speak about this kind of middle draw-in where it just kind of might fetch him out of the traps a little bit better. And I wonder whether he could set the target From Post to Pillar. Now, we said probably I would prefer him in a middle box. Whether he can get the clear passage and then use his middle gears to good effect, it will be. Ferrell's, I don't think he'll be leading that race, put it that way, because I do think that Beeper's Lariat will lead, and it'll be interesting to see if Beeper's Lariat can improve for John Kennedy.
Yeah. Looking through for the remainder, anything else catch the eye on Saturday night, the last of the 3 nights? I see Mr. Chelm is there, obviously formerly known as Kildare, not quite holding the same form as he did last year when he ran up the Derby. Hell of a greyhound. He's taken on Romeo Command, who we mentioned earlier on. Anything outside of that, PL, that sort of catches the eye?
Yeah, no, I just favoured in that heat. I did favour Mr. Chelm. I thought one of my plays was in the next heat, actually, Heat 26. I was quite interested in Bocco's Palace each way there, probably win and place, I just thought maybe Dealish Frankie and Barley Panther might go off and cut each other's throats and then leave Bocco Palace to come through sweeping late. I thought he was really impressive last time out, came with a power pack finish. And again, he's probably one of those that could easily be an each way bet for the Derby at 100 to 1 as well, by the way in. I just thought he was a good competition type of dog with a big engine. So he was a little play for me. Probably the best bet on the card, I think, is in the very last Heat 32. I think Slick Sakina will make all the Oaks champion. So that was the way I looked at it.
Spoke to Keith Alsop last night. Very hopeful. Very hopeful going into the Derby. Obviously, her season dates are perfect now. She's 16 weeks, and just as I said earlier on, just wouldn't be surprised if one of these ladies sort of took off in the next few weeks and just sort of found some form. And well, Slick Sakina has it in the book, and her trial was reasonably good. Everything points to her improving through the night, so have to keep her in mind. PL, I'm gonna I'm going to ask you to nail a couple of dogs for the anti-post market, but I'm then going to ask you for your best bets. So firstly, give me a couple for the anti-post market.
I've already bet from post to pillar. Got a bit of 16 each way. I've backed Ballymac Finn. I've had a little nibble on Rioja Joey because I just think he's got a lot of speed, and I know Kevin was quite sweet on the dog as a young dog, and again he's a young dog that can improve. And I had a real sort of Hail Mary on Boco's Palace each way at treble digits.
Good man, PL. We like a Hail Mary. That's the one thing about it. You've named four. We'll let you have them. There's no point in me sort of tipping against myself. I put in the price wise this morning in the Racing Post. I've obviously tipped up Swords Rex. I think Swords Rex should be favourite. Ahead of post to pillar, but you're on at the right prices, and that's the key. I'm lucky enough to be on the right prices about Swords Rex. I am certainly on over double what he was or what he is now. I think I still think there's a little bit of juice there at 10 or 11 to 1. I think he should be genuinely. I think he should be 6 to 1, and just wouldn't be surprised if he did another massive run in the opening round. And obviously there's 2 or 3 greyhounds there that'll probably get loose and do big runs, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he traded considerably shorter in the coming weeks. I've tipped up Clona Duke. Obviously, he's another very well fancied greyhound, so nothing too inspiring with my first 2 selections. But then we're going to move into the likes of Ballymac John Joe. We haven't mentioned him. We sort of briefly touched on him there in the opening round. He's immensely fast. Yeah, immensely fast. If you look back at his runs last year in National Pup Stake at Shelburne Park, he was giving dogs a 5, 6, 7 leg head start, and coming with a swashbuckling challenge in the second half. I think he'd be very hard to keep out of the frame if he gets used to the place quickly. And he's one for me at big anti-post prices. And I believe Mustang Jet is, I think he's an insulting price for a dog of his talent. Yes, he hasn't shown an awful lot this year, but the fact that Dolores is bringing him over would suggest she's pretty happy with where he's at. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ran a big race in the opening round from a wide draw, not in a heat where there's massive early speed. And if this dog got loose, trust me, that there's a big run in him. So they'd be my 4. Best bet, PL, and anything in terms of anti-post, or are you going to pick something in the heats?
I think I already mentioned Rioja Joey really on the first night. I think even money is a decent bet. I like him, so he'd be my.
Yeah, you trap 3 as well. That's the box, the trapping box to get them out. I'm going for something in trap 3 as well. On the same night, you mentioned him already, and you gave him a good speak. I think CryptoPunk is big at 11 to 10 even money. I think of all the heat prices, he's the one that sort of stands out with me. I was interested, actually, fully enough, in Boyle Sports Vic, who's actually come out injured. So, sadly, he won't be carrying my cash in the opening round. Hopefully, he's back in the track pretty shortly. Talented tracker, but no, I think CryptoPunk is the one for me in terms of the prices available at Jet. He's obviously not a huge price, but he is trading just above even money, and I think that's perfectly fair about a dog of his talent. He won the Consolation Derby and the Consolation Laurels here in Ireland, so he's well used to running in top company and beating the very best in training. So, yep, there be our 2 best selections: Rioja Joey and CryptoPunk. PL, pleasure as always. We have 6 wonderful weeks to look forward to a toaster. As I said at the preview last night, everyone's looking forward to it. This the time of the year where greyhound racing comes alive. Really is hard to not get excited.
Yeah, indeed, it is. And you're right. It's good when you get that sort of camaraderie and the Irish taking on the English. It's really good. I love it, and let's hope that we get plenty of really good action. A dog I will mention as well was we haven't spoken about at all, and it would be remiss of me not to, is David Mullins' Arcady, because I thought that he had some kind of a squeeze on the fact that he keeps breaking one. He's another dog out the middle, so he's a good trapper. I thought he might be the best bet on Friday night's card as well. So I should just mention that. But all in all, I think it is a decent quality derby. It's wide open, and we've got some real talking dogs to follow throughout this grueling campaign.
Yeah, we certainly do. That's it, folks. Though no, we can talk no more. We hope you've pointed you in the right direction. You'll be seeing plenty of myself and PL over the next few weeks. We will be updating, backtracking, blowing trumpets and whatnot when need be. Hopefully, we'll give you a few winners over the next 2 weeks. But the very best of luck to everyone with their bet, with anyone with a runner, and if you can, make sure you get to Toaster because a wonderful, wonderful derby to look forward to. Best of luck to everyone involved. That's it from us on the Matchbook Betting Exchange. Don't forget all markets, anti-posts, each and every heat will be priced up there on Matchbook. And on the day, you'd be amazed the value you will get, especially in those last minute or two before the off. And all the action will be live on Racing Post Greyhound Television. So you can keep up to date, or indeed you can stream it live on Matchbook Betting Exchange. But that's it from us on this what are we now? God, it's Wednesday morning. I'm a bit lost myself. It all starts tomorrow night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 3 nights in the opening round. It's going to be a marathon. Anyway, best of luck. We'll see you next time.